right, guys, last page. And these don't even take very long, and we just did these in class together on chapter 12. 39 through 42, we are using the functions that are listed up along the top. 39, we have h of -4. These are the problems where you are plugging in the -4 in every single time into function h every time you see an x. So plug in the -4 for x. Okay, function h is 5x squared, so 5 times -4 squared plus 2 times, instead of x, -4, and minus 1. Okay, remember that you could plug in the original h of x, like that 5x squared plus 2x minus 1. You could plug that into the y equals and then go to a table, so that second graph to get to the table. And you would look for where x is -4, what's the y value. Or you can plug all of this stuff into the home screen because there's no x's in it anymore, and it equals 71. Third option is you could use PEMDAS order of operations, and you could work the whole thing out. Number 40, h plus g of x. What that means is h of x plus g of x. Okay, so we are combining like terms. We know we're going to have x's left in our answer because there's no number there. Okay, h of x is 5x squared plus 2x minus 1, and g of x is 7x minus 2. And we are told in between that we are adding. Please do not distribute. That will take a long time. All we're doing is combining like terms. We have a 5x squared. Combine like terms on the 2x and the 7, and we get plus 9x. And combine like terms on the last two, and we get -1 minus 2 is -3. We are supposed to have x's, so we are done. Okay, 41 says the word multiply, and in between the f and the g there is multiplication. So let's write out whatever f of x is. So this means f of x times g of x. Okay. F of x is 3x minus 4. G of x is 7x minus 2. We have 2 terms times 2 terms, so we're going to distribute. 3x times 7x is 21x squared. 3x times -2 is -6x. And then distribute the -4. -4 times 7x is -28x. And -4 times -2 is +8. From here, combine like terms there in the center, and we end up with 21x squared minus 34x plus 8. Okay, on 42, we are dividing, so we're going to end up with a fraction. H of x is going to be on the top of that fraction, and f of x is going to be on the bottom of it. H of x was 5x squared plus 2x minus 1, and f of x is 3x minus 4. So that is technically the answer. That's what we're looking for the division. There's no factoring to do. The top doesn't factor into something like 3x minus 4. So we're just done with that. However, on your multiple choice, there might be several options with this exact same fraction. Okay, that's because the second part of the question says state domain restrictions. Domain means what is x allowed to equal? Well, x is allowed to equal anything except what would make your denominator equal 0. So we just take whatever that denominator is, which is f of x, and we set it not equal to 0, and we solve. So we add 4 to both sides, get 3x does not equal 4, and divide both sides by 3, and we get x is not allowed to equal 4/3. Okay, this domain is also going to have this capital looking R, and that R means that x is allowed to equal all real numbers, so like not imaginary numbers, except that x is not allowed to equal 4/3. So x can be anything except for 4/3. All right, 43, we're finding an inverse. Inverse means that we are swapping out the x's and y's. We are finding f inverse of x. So let's start with f of x equals -3x plus 9. Okay. We have talked about how f of x is the same thing as y. Okay. Step 1, we switch the x's and the y's with each other. So it's going to say x equals negative 3y plus 9. And then our job is to solve for y. Okay, so to get y by itself, we subtract 9 from both sides. This says x minus 9 equals negative 3y. And the last thing we have to do to solve for y is divide both sides by negative 3. You have a choice of whether you are going to divide both sides by negative 3. If you're going to divide the whole left by negative 3 or the individual terms. And we can just leave it as the x minus 9 over negative 3 equals y. If there are no answers that look like that, try dividing every individual term by that negative 3 instead. Okay, so what that would look like is x over negative 3 plus negative 9 over negative 3 equals negative 3y over negative 3. So that would reduce to negative 1/3 x plus 3, because negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3, equals y. Okay, both of those answers are valid, but it is multiple choice, so pick the one that is offered for you. Also, at this point, we are going to swap out the y for an f inverse of x, which is what we were asked to find in the beginning. And there's our answer. 44, find the inverse, h inverse of x. So this one, we are going to end up trying to get rid of an x squared, because our original problem is h of x, which is the same thing as y, equals 5x squared minus 3. Okay. Step 1, switch out the x and the y with each other. So x equals 5y squared minus 3. Okay. Let's get rid of that minus 3 by adding 3 to both sides. So x plus 3 equals 5y squared. Do not try and take the square root yet until you get rid of the 5. So we'll divide both sides by 5. And we get x plus 3 over 5 equals y squared. Now we want to get rid of the squared. Okay, so don't try and get rid of the squared until all the other junk is gone. Okay, so square root. Notice that the square root is over the whole fraction on the left. Okay, square and square roots cancel each other out. So we are left with the square root of x plus 3 over 5 equals y. And we know that this is the same thing as h inverse of x. So this is what the answer option should look like. Number 45, very last problem, is find the composite f of g of x. So that means that f of x is going to be our outside function. I'm going to do that one in red. And g of x is going to be our inside function. So we're going to start off by writing f of x, which is negative 3x plus 9. But whenever we get to the x, we're going to put a big set of parentheses instead. So negative 3 parentheses plus 9 instead of negative 3x plus 9. Okay, g of x is our inside function. G of x is 5x minus 7. Okay, so we've set up our problem, outside function in red, inside function in blue, and then let's distribute. So we're going to do negative 3 times 5x is negative 15x. Negative 3 times negative 7 is plus 21. And bring down that plus 9. Last step here is combine like terms. We have a 21 and a 9, so this becomes negative 15x plus 30. Alrighty guys, that is the end of all of our videos. Good luck. I hope you study a whole bunch, and make sure you're asking your teacher questions if you have questions.